I tend to run late a lot of times. A lot of people know that about me, and they just think, oh, well, you're just, go with the flow kind of thing. But it's amazing. It actually does bother me. But what I noticed about my brain is it's amazing how many little things you notice when you're running late because you're trying to think of something else. So there's this poster in the middle of the school at the church where I am, St. Andrew's, uh, which is right in the middle of the hallway. And because I cut through there because it's quicker and it saves me a few minutes as I'm on my way to say Mass, I see it every time and I'm running by it. And for some reason I focus on it. It says, no Jesus, N-O, no peace, N-O. And then it says, no Jesus, K-N-O-W, no peace. And my thoughts are, as I'm scurrying along this thing, I was like, man, that is so cheesy. And yet so true to some extent, right? No, if you have no Jesus in your life, there is no peace. We get that from a very young age. But if you get to know Jesus, there is this peace. Peace is a very interesting concept, if you will. We all kind of desire it. We all want it. We're always looking for it. But we're not always aware when we're not fully living it. I don't know if you know what I mean. We get so caught up in the humdrum of everything. We get caught up in the work week. We're always looking for that time of just, whew, when can I relax? When can I just chill? When can I just sit there? We get so focused. I think a lot of people probably relate to it. You work all week and you're saying, I can't wait till the weekend. Your excitement about Friday, it's Friday. Then, Saturday hits and you have all these things jam-packed into your schedule. You don't actually get to rest. You're always working about, I gotta run here, I gotta do this. There's so much you want to do in your free time. Do you really get peace? We don't notice it because we're so focused. It's the weekend. At least I'm not at work. And then Sunday rolls around and you're like, ugh. In fact, I was just reading the other day on the internet. It's very interesting. This whole list of things saying why Sunday's the worst day. It's because Sunday's the worst day because the next day is Monday. What is that? I can't even appreciate our good times. Now Sunday has become a bad day because Monday's the day that comes after it, right? There's no peace. There's no peace. And so we're always kind of looking for it. We want that peace. But I think a human struggle is we can't seem to find it. We can't put our finger on it. And our hearts are constantly restless. They're always searching. They're always looking. Right? And, well, Lord knows there's plenty. Right? We've got plenty of commitments. A lot of things. A lot of responsibilities. We're always kind of a lot of things on our plate. To the point where we're feeling overwhelmed all the time. There's these responsibilities. There's commitments. There's things you should do. Reaching out to a friend. Making a contact with a family member. Aside from that, there's past hurts, pains that I've received, different things, broken relationships. All of that tends to rob us of that peace. It tends to leave us in a state of we're not where we want to be. And we know that, but our focus tends to be in just keep going. Just plug away at it. Just keep going. Right? Our hearts are truly restless. And I think our focus sometimes is we want to fix things instead of healing them. We try to fix them instead of healing them. We try to cover up that massive hole instead of filling it in with what is actually going to make it stable. But this happens to all of us. It's a constant battle in our lives from a very young age. I remember thinking, looking back, at my relationship with my father, which is very interesting. He got mad at me the other day because I say things out of the blue. And he was sitting there saying something totally off the wall, right? And there was this kiwi on the table, and it was all old and wrinkly. And so he was just kind of interrupting my sister's conversation with me. And I was like, Dad, you're like this kiwi. I don't even know what that means. And he goes, and he's walking around for a week with the kiwi in his hand. Like, he compared me to a kiwi. But our relationship is interesting, and I mention this because from a very young age, it was this constant desire to, please him, right? To rise up to his expectations. And when I couldn't do that, then I said, all right, forget it. I can't do that. Let me try to fulfill my needs. Let me try to fulfill those desires that I think are truly what I want. And ironically, when we do that, we don't necessarily feel more peace. In fact, we start drifting sometimes. We feel further and further away. And we look for what in the world or our lives or our expectations tell us we should be looking for. And we're more restless. To the point I felt in my life, from a very young age, I was already overwhelmed. You think kids are kind of happy-go-lucky. I was overwhelmed, and you would ask me about what? I don't know, life. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do, right? And that overwhelmed feeling is the absence of that peace that we're desiring. We truly want that. We can't seem to find it. It's kind of like you're starting to drift further and further away. And I noticed this. I never left the church, but I did feel like I was drifting. It's like those little lines that they make at the airport. There's no one in line if you've ever gotten there. There's no one in line, and you have to go through this maze of things. You're like, I can just cut through here. There's this one adamant, worker there's like, no, you have to go that way. It's like, gosh. By the time you come around, there's this huge line of people, and then they open it up for them, and it's like, what? That's kind of that feeling of I'm right here, but I'm like behind this glass enclosure. I can't seem to get there, though it's always close. And I think that's the blessing, though. The realization that true peace is never far from us. It's right there. It is right there, And sometimes it's just opening up that gate. It's just walking from behind the enclosure. Going back to that sign, cheesy though it sounded to me every time I walk by it, no Jesus, no peace, no Jesus, and you know peace, it rings very true, right? Our hearts are restless, St. Augustine says. Our hearts are restless until they rest in you. There is a cure for that restless spirit. There is a cure for our restless hearts, and it's, guess what? Rest. But resting in Jesus. Because Jesus is the true source of our peace. Because he brings us what? He brings us that stillness that comes from what his vocation is. Redemption. He came to heal us from what? From ourselves. From sin. From that desire to just run around always looking to fulfill whatever it is we want and never finding it. He came to cure the root of that, which is our sin. He brought forgiveness to our lives. Forgiveness is what brings us peace. Jesus is the source of our peace because he brings forgiveness to our lives. I think that's the transformation many people find. We can drift. Let's be honest. No one's perfect. No one. And at our best, we still have that kind of inkling in our heart to say, man, I could have done better. I should have done better, probably. In one circumstance or another. None of us is perfect, and so forgiveness is the key to that good news that the Lord brings to us, that Jesus does bring to us. Because he brings that redemption, and he allows us to say, hey, none of that matters in the light of my mercy. And that's where a big change happens for a lot of people experiencing that. Whether, in my case, I never stepped out of the church physically, but spiritually I was gone. And still discovering, almost as if I had been walking back, as many converts sometimes say, walking into that forgiveness of the church through simply just being received into the church, received into the sacrament of confession. What mattered is that we were encountering Jesus and his forgiveness. Personally, being able to receive that forgiveness and understanding that that's the love that God has for us, right? God so loved the world that he sent his only son for what? To give his life for us. So that when we believe, right, we might have eternal life. We might have that peace that he brings. Because he tells each one of us, right? There's no greater love than what? Than to offer my life. I offered my life for you. So that you would have peace. And peace in abundance. And so that's what we latch onto. Doesn't matter how far we've gone. You're never too far gone. Right? Spiritually, physically, however. We're always just on the other side of that little gate. All we have to do is reach out and receive. Because it doesn't, in the scripture is very clear, St. Paul is very clear on the fact that we don't have to earn this. It's been given to us freely. Right? St. Paul tells us in Romans that we're justified freely by his grace through Jesus Christ. We do have to act. We do have to kind of strive. But our first act is opening wide and just receiving. Our hearts are restless until they rest. And so we have to rest in that mercy. And it's interesting because then that forms us. The Lord does tell us, as I have loved you, which is this total love, go do the same. Love one another as I have loved you. Now, that can be tricky. If there's past hurts, past pains, past difficulties, especially in relationships, especially the closest relationships, father, son, mother, daughter, sisters, brothers, Sometimes those are where the biggest hurts are. And forgiveness can seem like it's really far away. Remember, as we've been forgiven, and as we've been able to receive that forgiveness, it just frees us up. It gives us that peace to be able to just go out and say, all right. And I think that acknowledgement came for me with my father in college. Here I am, big tough rugby player, I thought. I'm going places. Not really. I wasn't really going anywhere, but I thought I was. And so I'm sitting there, and I don't know what hit me at one point, because I was growing with the Lord. I had experienced His forgiveness, and just meditating upon that, spending some time on, wow, like I feel better in my life. I feel more peace in my life because the things have drawn me to this forgiveness of the Lord. Then I went back to some of those pains. One of them would be my dad. And I just broke down. I was just bawling, and I'm in this common area, and I had this little window, right? And I was like, oh gosh, I gotta face away from the window. Because I just broke down, but I needed that. And in that moment, I acknowledged, like, the guy's not perfect. Sometimes he is like that wrinkled kiwi, I guess. Right? But I love the guy. And if any way he's affected me and somehow led me towards looking for other things because I didn't find it there, whatever, I forgive him. And I forgive him. And there was just this freeing presence. Next time I got him, went up to him and I kissed him right on his bald head. Right? And there was a freedom that I didn't have before. Because the freedom that Jesus gives us through His forgiveness for us frees us to then forgive those who have hurt us. And there is a genuine peace coming in that. So the source of that is always Christ. Knowing Christ does allow us to know His peace. So that's my desire for all of you and for all of us. It's to know Jesus, to encounter His peace, and to realize that our source of rest, our source of peace, will always come from Him. God bless you all.